I wonder if part of it looks like to a certain type of, like, guy that wants to transition, do they think, like, life would be easier as a woman, or
Mhm,
do you think part of it is, like, an actual sexual fantasy of,
mhm.
like, because I forget what it's called, but th there's an actual
AGP.
name for it where it's
It's called AGP, and autogynephilia.
yeah, where it's like, I wanna dress up as the thing that turns me on, which
That's
doesn't
right.
necessarily mean that you're trans, it's a
Nope.
kink.
That's right. It's a more different, like, so cross dressers. Okay, that's what a cross dresser is. A cross dresser is somebody who wants to wear female clothing and have sexual experiences as a woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you're doing it as an adult in a consensual space. Whatever, that's your space.
Yeah,
But to now,
safely, right? Yeah.
right? But to conflate it with trans and all this is wrong because it's not the same thing as I don't sexualize myself. I'm not here to like think I'm like this hot person and I want to like fuck myself. It's not going to happen.
You are the Tranpa, though. And then so I think this is what a lot of, people have a concern with. So you have this, like, subsect of people with this particular kink. They're not trans, they're not
That's right.
transitioning, they just dress
That's
as
right.
women because that turns them on, and then
Yeah.
now it's in a place where it's, "Oh, it's no big deal, like, go to women's
Yeah.
bathrooms, go to women's locker rooms," but it's like, you're this type of person who's dressing as the thing that's turning you on, and now you're in a
Right.
bathroom in a locker room full of
That's
women.
right.
We can't see how that's problematic.
But the thing is like, here's what I think. If these people want to be trans women, which is fine, I don't really care about that. That why aren't they not respecting women's spaces, right? So I don't understand why would you want to be a woman and walk that world but have disrespect for women? Because I want to be a man and I have a lot of respect for men. When I transitioned and I started kind of hanging out and being a little bit more sexually attracted to men, that's a whole other story. But I started frequenting men's spaces and they were freaked out by me and I would leave. I would leave every time I would leave until eventually I would come back. I'd come back and they started to get used to me and they started to understand me until they welcomed me in that space because I knew that I was a different kind of person and it wasn't comfortable for them.
Mm.
So I don't understand why these women, trans women, are just not understanding that women are not are upset about this. But if you meet them in the middle and talk about it, they'll be so accepting of you because you're accepting of them and you're not a woman, you're a trans woman. That's the problem. They keep saying trans women are women. No, they're not. Trans women are trans women. Different.
Yeah, it's almost like it doesn't feel like they're trying to be part of this
That's
group. It's like
right.
it feels like you're trying to bully us out of
That's
our
right.
own group,
That's right.
and when you're, like, kicking our ass in all the sports, it's hard to have sympathy and
That's
empathy
right.
and for the cause because it's like,
That's right.
"Oh, shit," because I was a college athlete, and
Mhm.
this Leah Thomas story with, she's the trans, woman who's a swimmer at UPenn, and this is, like, a
Mhm.
little bit of old news. This was, like, hotter news, like, last month, but I think back, like, man, if I was still in college, like, competing as a diver at this time, like, I was pretty
Mhm.
close with the swimmers,
Mhm.
I would be so angry. It's, because people qualify for certain, scholarships and, what you test as a high schooler, like, those times determine what colleges you
Yep.
could go to or could not go to, and then
Yep.
eventually, like, if you're good enough, the Olympics and,
Yep.
all that.
That's right.
So, yeah, it doesn't seem like there's much respect for biological
Uh,
women.
there is not, and so the community also hates Caitlyn Jenner. They hate her. Why do they hate her?
'Cause she's a Republican.
I don't give a fuck if she's. I don't care. That has nothing to do with any. All of us are just like I'm like whatever my politics are has nothing to do with me being trans. It has zero to do with me being trans. But as a transgender woman, that woman has thrown so much money to this community. It's
Mm.
insane. They seem to forget that part. So now she speaks out as a former Olympic athlete. She's like, wait a minute here, this is wrong. And she said the most profound thing in an interview. She said, I don't know what that Leah Thomas is thinking, but what she's doing is wrong.
Wow.
And she said, and she knows it. I was like,
Ooh.
bam, that's what we need. We need a trans woman to say that because it's
Right.
true. You don't think Leah Thomas knows what she's doing? Of course she does. She 100% does, but that's her ego right there saying, I'm a woman and I can do this and go fuck yourself, which is gross.
And it's like, is it this idea that, like, women can just get away with anything? Like, I hear guys who hate women say stuff like that, like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's
that's
so
right.
easy to be a woman, you just get
That's
away with
right.
whatever, you can bitch your way out of a situation, you can
Whatever.
other people can just pay for your lifestyle." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like a misogynistic man t type
Yeah,
type
that's right.
behavior."
That's right. That's right. And that's why I don't understand trans women who are, and not all trans women. I have a lot of trans women friends who respect you and respect women and do not have the same ideology. So you have to remember that there is a lot of this community that don't agree with the loudmouths. Those loudmouths are a different type of the ones like me who are transsexual, who want to change, like Blair. And I have most of my friends all look like females and make an effort to look that way and walk the world as women. And they don't have problems because they respect women. And so this is a part of the community that's very dangerous now that we have, that's like created this some kind of ideology and because there's power in numbers. So I really believe on some level, the more power they're getting is because more people are transitioning, which gives this community all this, power to do these things. But it's not going to last long because people are catching on now.
You don't think so?
Nope, I do not.
You
I'm
don't think
already seeing it.
the Democratic Party is not going to nominate a trans presidential candidate?
Well, that I don't know, but that could happen. But that being said, look, I don't care if they do nominate. Can the person do the job? Don't hire a person just because they're trans. That's gross. I'm not cool with that. Hire the person because they're a badass. And I don't care if they're black, green, blue, man, woman, tranny. I don't give a shit. Can they do the job?
Matter.
That's right. So it's like now we're hiring trans people because they're trans people. That's raw. I've never agreed with that type of being. Never. Never.
Yeah. Interesting. It's good for Caitlyn Jenner because it's like, that kind of means a lot coming from an Olympic athlete.
That's right.
Who's also trans. Like,
that's right.
Kind of hard to.
Because she respects women. She does. She respects women. She's like, look, I'm a transsexual. I'm a dude who became a lady. And now, you know what? And she understands that respect. And that's why they don't like her, because she doesn't toe the party line like me. She believes what she doesn't. She also, I think, says J.K. Rowling isn't transphobic like I do. And like that just gets your balls kicked in 24/7.
People love to obsess on this J.K. Rowling issue. Here is a letter that you wrote to the LA Times. And this was very recently. Thank you, LA. When did this come out? Oh yeah, just on the 11th. Thank you, LA Times, for publishing my letter and showing the world that trans people don't all share the same views about J.K. Rowling and Dave Chappelle.
Right on.
Another take on Rowling regarding Magic in the Potter reunion by Chrissie Mayr on January 22nd. The outcry over Rowling's tweets is well known, but what is almost never covered is that she is not at all universally believed to be transphobic by members of the trans community. Those of us in the trans community who agree with her defense of biological sex find ourselves in a place of being silenced, bullied, and worse. Sadly, this was made evident by Dave Chappelle, who highlighted the story of his friend, a trans woman who took her life after being cyberbullied from her own community. Yep. I, for one, was grateful he highlighted this tragedy, but my voice was never heard. The media only seems to print the outcry rather than the support that Rowling and Chappelle have received from those of us in this community who have large platforms and who don't go along with the consensus view. And this is often because we are often silenced.
That's right. Right on. Thanks for reading that.
Oh, yeah. No, this is great.
I couldn't believe it. I cried. I'm not kidding. I cried when it got into the paper.
I was like, really?
Because I have sent 10, 15, 20 of these things to papers and nobody would print them. And I couldn't believe it because it goes against everything the trans community is trying to say. And so to have an opposing opinion on something so very, very, very delicate on some level is huge that the LA. So I actually I have more respect for the LA Times now. I didn't like them for a while, but I thought, okay, now they're literally having that. You got to let other people speak. You can't just have a, monolithic voice out there. That's not the way the real world works. It's gross.
What do you think is like, it was comforting to hear you say, like, I think it's not going to work. I think it's crumbling. What do you think is or was the goal of this sort of like typical like trans group think?
Yeah.
Like
so I do believe that they wanted to indoctrinate a bunch of people because I believe it's more powerful when you get more people involved in it. And I also believe it's money. There's money behind a lot of this. We have a lot of older trans women who are like billionaires, like billionaires who are funneling, money into a lot of these spaces. That being said, the medical space has grown tremendously. Top surgery, bottom surgery, all kinds
Mm.
of things. That's
Big
money.
Pharma's loving it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
All the
testosterone.
hormones.
That's
Yep.
right. That's right. So I, as an older person, and how hard it was for me to get my hormones, you can literally go into Planned Parenthood, or you can go on the internet. You can actually go on the internet, do a evaluation with a doctor like me and you right here, like saying they ask you 10 questions and then they immediately stamp your paper and say, okay, you're trans. Oh, here's a script for your testosterone. I'm like, this is out of
Yeah, you don't
control.
think they're getting a kickback just like every other drug they
There you
prescribe?
go. That's right. So I see, I think I told you in the last interview that I saw on Market Watch, which is a stock market website, telling people to invest in trans surgery, and it'll be a $5 billion business in the next five. It's actually written right there.
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
wow.
Where
Yep.
did you see this? On, like, Market
I'll
Watch or
send you
something?
that. I have
Okay.
it's look on Market Watch and then kind of just search around for trans surgery. You're going to see it. It says invest.
Makes
It's
sense.
it's actually going to be a $5 billion industry in the next 5 years. I'm like, wow, this is sick. Sick.
And it's like, is that gonna make people happier? I guess we'll
No.
see what the
No,
aftermath
that's
is.
what detransitioners are. My point. Why do we have so many detransitioners? We should never have detransitioners, or maybe a small amount, but the amount that kids are literally detransitioning is out of control. And so that's what the community doesn't want to see. And that's why I talk about it, because I believe they can help us. They can help us figure out, why are we making mistakes? I don't never want to see a youngster with no boobs having to live, or a hysterectomy at 16 and then going, why did I ever do that? And looking like me. I can never go back to looking like you, ever. I'm going to be the ugliest woman in the world. So it's like, it's not a joke.
Mm.
This is actually who I look like for the rest of my life.
Hey, it's not too bad though.
Because I like it. But imagine if I
Yeah.
didn't like it, I would be totally suicidal.
Oof. Yeah.
It's
It's really
gross.
sad. So
Yeah.
you think this toxic groupthink is about funding, it's about
Yep.
money, it's
Yep.
about
Yep. I do.
government dollars.
Because I don't see the care and the compassion that many of us, it's not just me, there's many of us who are trying to say, wait a minute, slow down. This is not a rush. I mean, this is a lifelong thing that you're doing. I have to shoot testosterone for the rest of my life. I have to do these things in order to be this person. I have to still live in this body that isn't really male. I mean, there's
Mhm.
many psychological aspects of it that you have to really get your head around. It's not just changing yourself overnight and then, everything is great. You have to, I go to therapy. I continue to do that after 29 years of transition. I still
Wow.
work on my mind.
Yeah. That's good. It shows, like, you're full of light and you're, like, you're a very
Thank
alive
you.
person, you're very self-aware, and it's
Thank
why
you.
people love you, and it's also, I think, why it's like people have, like, a love-hate feeling about you because they're like, oh, they wish they could have your confidence and your self-awareness and be, like, owning yourself and comfortable in your skin,
They can.
comfortable in
If
there.
they would
Yeah.
if they would literally calm down, just calm down. No one's telling you you can't transition. They're telling you to calm down. I'm telling you, calm down. Like, stop it. I'm here for a reason.
Mm.
If I didn't give a shit about my community, I would leave. I have way too many amazing things in my life. Trust me, I'm just great business stuff, all kinds of stuff happening. I don't need to be here and I don't need to be doing this, but I believe that I have to give back because I have everything. And so for me to just walk away and watch these kids get hurt, I would be a jerk to do that. Instead, I put myself in the line of fire because I believe what happened to me is life-saving. And the kids out there who are getting sucked into this is gross. And so I have to really stand there and say, wait a minute, what are we all doing? And then people like you hear me and you put me on your podcast, and then I get more visibility, and then more people see me and they start saying, hey, wait a minute, Buck can say things that resonate with me, and maybe we need to slow down a little bit. And that's why part of the community doesn't like me, because I'm saying slow down.
And you're not saying anything all that crazy. You're not telling anybody not to transition. You're
Nope.
just basically saying, like, don't confuse your life issues with your trans issues,
That's
Like,
right.
don't
That's
get
right.
like, if you have life issues and you need therapy for that, don't confuse that with the transitioning process.
That's right.
Because that's when
Exactly.
things get messy, and that's when you're like, "Oh, shit, I have to detransition," and that's when or you get to the end of the transition process and you're not
Ugh.
any happier for it.
It's heartbreaking, really. These kids, I talk to a lot of them, I really give them my phone number and have them call me and I talk to them and we're both crying. And I'm just like, okay, but now you have an opportunity to get yourself back up. And, it's like really sad. It saddens me because it worked out so well for me. And here I am. And then I see this kid who just not that. It's just like mind blowing to me that they even started this stuff and went through it. They went through surgery. You can't get your boobs back. Now you have to do fake boobs. And it's just, the other really insane thing is they're not putting nipples. So they're doing surgery on these youngsters.
Nipples? Are those extra? Are those expensive?
I know. I'm like, wait, I know I'm laughing, but I'm actually crying. I'm like, they're literally not putting the nipples on. The kids are like, it's okay, Buck. You don't understand. It's a new generation. I go, bullshit. It is not a new generation of humans. You need your nipples. They're actually a real thing that your body needs. So why is the surgeon not putting the nipples
where
on?
do the nipples go?
I mean, they just throw them out, but they're like flat chested with like no nipples. It's the most bizarre
you're telling me
thing.
outside of any hospital, there's a bag of nipples sitting there
Totally.
going unused.
But shame on the surgeon, because the surgeon's probably
Damn.
too lazy to put them on because it's not easy. You have to you have to make it all perfect, and it's hard, and it's also a whole other part of the surgery. So I'm like, bullshit. The surgeon's just doing that because they're lazy and they don't want to do it. It's gross.
Wow, it's like are you trying to make people look like cyborgs? Like,
There you go, transhumanist, right? That's a whole other level of
that's
shit
a whole
that's
other
happening.
thing.
Transhumanist. I'm like, no, I'm just a human. Like, relax.